Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Hey, thanks for joining us. This is the Soul Purpose Show. We are super excited today. This is the second part of a three-part series that we're doing on how to survive this current crisis. We're just, thankful to God to bring us through another week, healthy and surviving. We had an outstanding show last week. We actually kicked off this series talking about mental health and family relationships and how to kind of not strangle your significant other. So it was really, really great. So we thank our guests for that. You can go back to our page if you missed it. It's at Soul Purpose Show on Facebook. It's at the In Touch News Radio on their Facebook page as well. So you can go back and check that show out if you missed it. Today we're going to focus on the other aspect of our health that most of us always struggle to come to grips with, and that is, how can we put ourselves in the best possible position to stay free of this virus and to keep our bodies in tip-top shape as well. So we are so appreciative of all of you for tuning in. Just as a reminder, our Instagram is at Soul Purpose Show, and our Facebook page is at Soul Purpose Show. We do have the opportunity for you to interact with us as we are speaking, and if you want to ask questions, we may have an opportunity for you to get some of those questions answered as well. So we're going to jump right into today's subject. Monica, what are we talking about?
So today, I think you kind of touched on it already. We last week we talked about mental health, and we were going to do a three-part series: mind, body, spirit. And today we are talking about keeping our body safe. And trying to answer some of the questions that some of us, I know I had, about what exactly coronavirus is, why this particular, I know there's several different strains of coronavirus from what I've read, and why this particular strain of coronavirus is so deadly, and also why it's having such an impact on the African American community. So it's a probably a heavy subject,
Yeah.
but we have two dynamic guests today who I think will make it a little easier and a little more palatable for me specifically, and I think for whoever's listening. And if you have questions, as always, just make sure you put the questions in the chat, and we'll try to incorporate your questions into the show.
Thank you. And this is uncharted territory for us during our lifetimes, at least. Some of us are old enough to remember things like SARS and H1N1 and just kind of hearing about it. And if you weren't directly affected, which most of us weren't, it wasn't a subject that really kind of hit home, and it didn't alter our lifestyles, our daily living. But this really is. It's really a significant change to how we go about our daily lives. With us today is Dr. Faith Felder. She is an outstanding physician and health advocate. She's going to tell us a little bit more about what that means. And then we also, in the second part of our show, we have our fitness and nutritionist guru, Sean Hollis of Sean's Total Fitness. He's going to get us up and moving throughout this process as well, since we've been stuck, quarantined, locked up in the house.
Well, I actually walked this morning.
Yes,
so
you did.
Yes,
you did. She got up and did her 2 miles, 3 miles, or whatever.
2 miles this morning.
All right, and I stayed in bed. So anyway, fabulous. Hey, Dr. Faith, can you hear us? And how are you this morning?
I can. I'm wonderful. And actually, I went for my mile run, 3 miles this morning too. So
Good.
Outstanding.
Good.
Excellent. Well, listen, we're going to put your bio out on our Soul Purpose Facebook page. I mean, obviously, we're not going to go through all of your credentials. We'd be here for half of our show, credentials and accomplishments. But I do want to say one quick disclaimer. Dr. Faith is an actual doctor.
Yes.
And because our co-host is an attorney, we want to make sure that you know that what you hear today, although we're going to be talking about medical subjects, this is not personal medical advice for you. These are tips. This is good information, but none of this is supposed to be taken and perceived as personal medical advice for yourself. But we're going to have information on how you can actually contact Dr. Faith's office if you want to become a patient, if you need to become a patient, or if you need medical treatment for any reason at all. We're going to give you that information. So again, Dr. Faith, I've known you for years, and I know that you are probably one of the leading advocates on healthy lifestyles, especially for people of African descent. Tell us a little bit, and tell our listeners who may not know you and may not have seen you out on your social profiles, like what motivates you to do what it is that you do?
Well, I think the key is empowering people And unfortunately, I see a lot of us not being cared for well. And a lot of that is because we haven't taken the time to educate ourselves. So I feel like it's really important to encourage my patients to learn as much as they can about their disorder. So when they go see someone else, they're not misled, and they're able to get the best care they can for themselves.
Outstanding.
So specifically with respect to the space that we're in now, the coronavirus and COVID-19 specifically, I know that there are different types of coronavirus, and if I'm incorrect, then please obviously correct me. But what is coronavirus, and what makes COVID-19 such an aggressive form of the virus?
Right. So yes, there are different strains of coronaviruses. We're familiar with the common cold, and that's caused by one type of coronavirus. But the novel coronavirus, which is COVID-19, is special and unique in that when it makes you sick, certain individuals, if they are immunocompromised, are going to become deadly sick.
Okay.
That's number one. And then number two is that unlike some other viruses, like say Ebola, when you get it, you're sick. And that way you can kind of avoid those people. Whereas COVID-19, 80% of people will either be asymptomatic or just have mild symptoms, and yet they're transmitting it to other people unbeknownst to them, and now they're also infected and potentially could get, deadly sick. So that's
I know from the very beginning of this this epidemic, there were naysayers, right? The coronavirus is just another Democratic hoax to make the president look bad. It's not as bad as the media is portraying it. Tell us a little bit about what is actually happening to the human body with respect to this condition versus the bad flu strains that we get every year. Every year there's 2 or 3 bad flu strains that go around, and if you catch it, you're going to be off off work for 3 days. Like, what is it specific about this virus that makes it so traumatic?
Well, what makes it so deadly, again, it's 10 times more deadly than influenza. That's what you're talking about.
Okay.
And again, some of the things that I just mentioned, that transmission, when you get influenza, you feel like a Mack truck ran you over, so it really puts you down. And so you're not going to be exposing other individuals. Whereas COVID-19, that's not the case. And then the other problem is COVID-19 can affect different parts of you, but what we're most familiar with is the lungs. Why they talk about the ventilators and folks having to be in ICU, because it overwhelms the system, your immune system, and your body just doesn't have a chance to fight it. And you produce all this mucus, you can't breathe, you're not able to exchange air. So the whole purpose of the ventilator is just to buy you time for you to be able to get over this onslaught by this virus.
Wow.
So it appears, because I've heard reports in terms of the people that are succumbing to the disease, that once they test positive, they find that they have it. In terms of the time point in which they find out that they have the disease and their unfortunate passing, it's a short window of time. So it sounds like this COVID-19 is extremely aggressive.
Yes, but not in everyone. That's the conundrum. Because you just don't know.
Right.
So I like to think of COVID in 3 phases. The first phase is exposure. The second phase is infection. And then in that phase, you fall into either the 20% group who can get more sick, or the 80% group who you don't have to, worry. And then the third phase is either death or recovery. So when you think of it in those phases, then you can kind of prepare better, because a lot of people are just scared.
Right.
And that's not beneficial because that's impairing your immune system too.
Right.
Wow.
So the first thing I'm hoping is to, dispel people's fear. Do not be afraid. Instead, educate yourself. Okay, what is this virus? How is it going to affect me? And what can I do to protect myself?
Okay.
So you know the three different stages, and just work yourself backwards. I like to always think of the worst case scenario, because once you get the worst case scenario out of your mind and you've dealt with it, you've got a plan, then that takes away a lot of the scariness, from the disease. So death, I've got a patient right now in the hospital. Her husband can't see her. That's awful.
Oh.
But last week, they should have planned. So, okay, in the event we get in the hospital, what are we going to do? How do we contact each other? Where are the important papers? All of that should be, my dad's 90. We've talked about that. What are we going to do if something happens? Then phase 2, when you're infected, how do I move myself from the 20% camp to the 80% camp? That's what you want to know. And we could talk about that later. And then this phase 1 is exposure. How do I minimize my exposure? We're all going to come into contact with COVID. It's just a matter of time. The question is, what are you doing to prepare yourself so you don't get sick?
So now you mentioned at the very beginning when we started talking about immune compromised individuals. Can you explain, just give some examples of those individuals who may be in that immune compromised group?
Real quick would be folks who are diabetic. They're immune compromised because all that sugar suppresses their immune system. Their white blood cells aren't able to function. Folks who have like pulmonary disorders, so asthma, COPD, they're potentially at risk. Folks who have autoimmune disorders, so like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, Crohn's, they're going to be at risk. Anyone who's taking steroids, it suppresses your immune system, so they're going to be at risk as well.
Let me just, I want to touch on something because, our show is called the Soul Purpose Show. I mean, obviously, most of our listeners are going to be people of color, and that's part of the reason why we started this medium. But we do have listeners from all walks of life. But I do want to, because I know you do so much work in the education and awareness space for Black folk, because you understand culturally where we come from and some of the myths and some of the idioms that we carry in our culture. I want you to touch on. I mean, I remember when this thing first broke, and I was talking to people saying things like, "Well, is it me, or are Black people not catching this thing? Because you're not even hearing about us. Maybe it's something about our physiology that doesn't, allow us to." So, touch on what you've seen in your practice with respect to this condition, but also just in general about some of the myths that need to be debunked in our culture with respect to taking care of ourselves.
I think the key thing again is just educating yourself. I hear all of that. I'm big boned. I'm not obese. The cooking, the types of foods we eat, not the most healthy for us. And everybody in my family has this, so this is just something I'm gonna have.
Yep.
We've gotten so used to hypertension being in our community. We talk about, when people get upset, oh, my pressure's up. There's nothing wrong with you don't even know it. Just assume that it's up. It's craziness. But we just are perpetuating the same ideas that we've heard, parroting the same thing. So just educating yourself to kind of break that cycle would be tremendous. That's number one. We're all a part of the human race. So we're all, regardless of what color we are, look at it. It was China and then Europe and then here and Africa. So we're all a part of the human race. Yes, some of us are more susceptible to other things than others, but pretty much everything is going to affect us. It's just how we manage it.
So I do have a question because you broke it down. There are three different areas to look at. You mentioned the death part and how you plan if there's an unfortunate situation where a loved one is in the hospital and you cannot communicate with them, and ensuring that you're planning. The second piece was how, if you do test positive, how do you ensure that you stay in that 80% versus the 20? And then the first thing you talked about was exposure. So I want to move backwards. Relative to exposure, what are some things, I heard you talk a lot about diet, and we mentioned that, you ran this morning and I walked this morning, certain things that we can do, because a lot of the things that you talked about in terms of things, things that we suffer from, ailments that we suffer from that affect our immune system, diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, asthma, hypertension, all of those issues are prevalent within our community. Can you provide some guidance on how within our community and outside our community, but more specific within our community, how we can limit our exposure, particularly if you suffer from some of those underlying conditions that suppress your immune system?
So I think the first thing is to try to make sure that whatever disease you have, it's well controlled. That frustrates me to death. If someone has diabetes and they're not even monitoring their blood sugar, how do you know it's controlled if you're not checking it? Come on, folks. So that's number one. Make sure that whatever disorder you have, you're knowledgeable about. I'm big about educating yourself, knowledgeable about your disorder. No one should know more about your disorder than you. I love it when patients tell me, oh, I heard about to treat my diabetes. I'm like, that's great. That's great. I can't know everything, but you should know everything about your disorder. So that's important. But as far as what to do, how to protect yourself, yes, know everything you can about your disorder. And then it's the basics. Life isn't really that complicated. We make it complicated.
Mm-hmm.
But if we just focus on the basics, like I'll just go explain what I'm doing to keep healthy. Getting good sleep. I try to go to bed at 10 o'clock every night on schedule, because while you're sleeping, your body is repairing itself. And they've done studies to show that your immune system is suppressed by the number of hours of sleep that you've lost. So everybody can do that. No matter what your socioeconomic status is, you can go to bed on time and get 7 hours of sleep. No excuse for that. So that's number one. And then when I get up in the morning, I try to make sure I'm well hydrated, because you've been sleeping all through the night. So, I try to get at least half my weight of ounces in water every single day. And because your body's 70% plus water, how can it possibly fight these infections? When you go in the hospital, the first thing they do is hang a bag of fluid. Hello? Because staying well hydrated is important. So get your water in. That's something easy everybody can do.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second thing I do is get plugged into my power source. I talk about mindfulness, and I think your speaker probably talked about that last week, but that's so important, because if your head's not right, the rest of you can't focus on your blood sugar and your blood pressure. You don't care. You're worried and confused. So get your head right. And I like plugging into my devotion, not just mindfulness. I think that's important too. But if you believe in God, I think that's so important to just stay connected, because it'll help alleviate all of this anxiety that you have. And I don't believe in just, that's another problem in our community. They're like, oh, I'll just pray about it and it'll be all right. And I'm like, that's foolish. Hello. I'm all about prayer. Don't get me wrong. But success to me is the combination of divine intervention plus human effort. And unfortunately, we don't like to put in the human effort. It's all about, divine intervention. No. He's not going to do it unless you do your part. So plug in the morning. So I do that. And then I go for my run because exercise is so important. And I've had patients tell me, we're doing the telemed and they haven't been out of the house. It says stay at home. So they think literally stay in the house, which is foolish. Get out and go for a walk. Some people said, I can't get out because the dog's in my neighborhood. I get it. Carry a stick. Walk in groups.
She said beat the dogs. Did she just say beat the dogs?
Indirectly. Cover me.
Dr. Faith, what we're going to do is we're going to take a short break right now. I want you to have an opportunity to talk to us about getting off of drugs, and I don't mean illegal substances. I mean, I know that it's a big part of your practice, so I want to give you an opportunity to talk about that too. But we're going to take a short break now. We want to make sure that all of our listeners know how to get a hold of you and go to your website, etc. On the other side of our break as well.
What makes us feel right? I'm just getting off the train. Never sleep and work all day. I just want.
All right, we took a quick break, and joining us today is Dr. Faith Felder. She's an internal medicine, or internist, I should say, and health advocate, and she's giving us great information around what this virus actually is and how we can help protect ourselves, and certainly insight on some of the cultural things that we deal with just from people of color especially. And I want to give her an opportunity to talk about getting off of prescription medication. But before we jump into that, I wanted to also just, Dr. Faith, if you could talk about masks. I remember when when this thing first broke, it was don't try to buy the N95 mask because we wanted to try to reserve those for healthcare professionals, and the cloth masks weren't going to help you anyway, so don't even worry about doing that unless you were concerned about trying to transmit it to other people. Now you can get designer masks online, right? Cloth masks or whatever they're made out of. Give us some insight on what should we do to protect our face if we have to go out in public.
So briefly, yes, the N95, N99, if you could get your hand on it, would be ideal as far as transmission of the virus. The cloth, it's not really that helpful, but to me, it's a reminder that we need to be practicing social distancing. So even if it's not going to protect you, at least it's a physical reminder that I need to stay 6 feet away from this person, or I need to just protect myself. So I think of it that way. It's just a physical reminder to help, because now things are opening up. Everything looks almost like it used to, and people I see people walking around and talking to each other, and people at the pool. I'm like, oh my goodness. In a couple months, that death rate's going to spike up again. And my kids are like, why do we have to wear masks? But I wear it because I want them to remember that the virus didn't disappear. Just because everyone's out, it did not disappear. So yes, it's not very helpful, but you should wear it just to remind yourself.
You had a question about the drugs, but it probably.
Monica doesn't like taking drugs. She doesn't like
I
taking
don't.
drugs at
I
all,
don't.
even when they're prescribed. And I'm like, if you got a headache, take some aspirin. Leave me alone. Just go.
I'm not a, I am not, and I probably get that from my mom. I'm not a drug person unless it's necessary. Like antibiotics, I may take it, but I'm eating a lot of yogurt to kind of try to counteract whatever it's doing in my system. I don't know what the side effects of the medications are. And luckily, I don't, despite my profession, I don't have high blood pressure. So I try to eat lots of fruits and vegetables. I probably don't drink enough water, but he fusses at me because when I'm complaining of a headache, I won't take like an aspirin or whatever, just because I figured there's something I can take that will counteract the headache that's more natural for me. So I know that a part of your practice is attempting to wean us as a community off of prescription drugs. Because my philosophy is you take one drug and then it affects another part of your body. You got to take another drug to address that part of your body. So kind of share with us your thoughts about that.
So yes, that's my focus. No more drugs, whether it's prescription or even supplemental. I don't recommend folks taking anything unless you absolutely need it. I think, again, you need to focus on what we're doing to try to help protect our bodies from COVID, to protect our bodies from getting diabetes, hypertension, cancer. All of these chronic illnesses could be prevented if we just did what we need to do, which is like your headaches. If you drank enough water, you probably wouldn't have them. And so I agree with you not wanting to take the aspirin because yes, it can cause other problems. With the drugs, you have to weigh the risk benefit. Is the benefit outweighing the possible risk of like aspirin causing bleeding, affecting my kidneys, so I do that all the time. But the key thing is if I could get people to eat better, eat a whole food, plant-based diet, most of the problems would go away. The obesity, the diabetes, the hypertension, the cancer risk, a lot of that would go away. If I could get people to sleep, we think, you are Superman because you stay up, you sleep only 4 hours. If we could get you to sleep right, if I could get you to exercise, just go outside. Monica, you should have dragged him out of the bed. On you, going for a walk. You're already going to outlive him, and at least get close to you.
Well, he did walk. He did walk with me yesterday. So I walked yesterday morning. I walked yesterday evening. He did walk with me yesterday.
Good. But so it's a team effort. The two of you are a team, so you got to help each other. Where you're short, he helps you. He reminds you, hey, baby, did you drink your water today? I didn't see you drinking anything, and you help him. Hey, baby, don't sleep in. Come on, go talk for me so you can sleep better tonight, and rest well. So all of that helps us get off of the drugs.
That's fabulous information. And I tell you, you've given us a lot of insight. You've obviously inspired us to live well and to live our lives better. And for our listeners out there, again, I have followed Dr. Faith for years, and I know that. She usually does a lot of just kind of public service, just kind of PSAs on our social media sites as well. Just kind of giving us, ongoing kind of food for the soul, which we really appreciate. Before you get out of here, I'd like to give you a chance to do two things. Number one, how do we get a hold of you? What's your website, and give our listeners, and we've had as many as over 2,000 viewers of our show. We're just blessed beyond measure that how people are reacting. But give our listeners some nuggets of wisdom to take with them as we just continue to try to survive this time period.
So again, I think the key is educating yourself. And turn off your television. Turn off the computer. Just 1 hour. Just limit it to 1 hour. As far as educating yourself, WebMD, I love it. They speak in English, not all this medical jargon, so you can understand. uchipines.org, their counseling sheets are great. They talk about aging, acne, whatever, but things that we can use at home, to get better. Nutrition.org, nutritionfacts.org. I love it because he's using evidence-based medicine to explain why we should eat a particular way, what supplement is beneficial, busting myths, that we hear. So those are some 3 really good sites that folks could educate themselves on.
Outstanding. And your website is drfaithfelder.com?
There you go.
drfaithfelder.com is the website. Please visit our website. There's also information about how, if you're accepting, continuing to accept new patients, that would be great as well. But I know that information is on your website as well. And we appreciate you. We appreciate everything that you've done within our community, ongoing education and awareness to people of all walks about how they can live life healthier and also survive this crisis as well. We thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Dr. Felder.
All right, hope to hear the 2 of you went for a walk tomorrow.
We're gonna post it. We're gonna put that on our social site, so you'll see both of us.
Okay, great.
Thank you. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Well, that was outstanding. That was great.
That was good. That was good. And so we are thankful now to be able to, we're going to transition quickly, if I can unmute him.
You gotta unmute him.
I'm trying to unmute him.
And he also.
Oh, I got it. There we go. So that was phenomenal. That was really good nuggets. I think I've been really good about attempting to exercise, at least walking. I was trying to calculate this morning how many miles I walked this week, and I think I walked probably almost 15 miles this week. So I said that because the next person is coming on, Sean Hollis, is our well, he's a very good friend, yes, but used to be our personal trainer, and gave me a lot of grief when he was training us in preparation for our wedding almost 7 years ago. Yeah. But I just would like the record to reflect, Sean, that I am exercising. Your buddy is not. I'm working on it. And I have walked 15 miles this week. Thank you very much. And as an aside, before you get started, I want my wine back. You came in my house and threw all my wine away, and I'd like my wine back, please.
Good morning, guys. What's up?
Good morning. Good morning.
How you doing? How are you doing, man? We had a lot of fun putting our promo video together. If anybody has not seen it, it's on our website. We try to do a little promo video leading up to the show to get people interested in the topic. And we heard some outstanding nuggets of wisdom from Dr. Faith Felder, who's obviously a friend. Yes. And has done so much work in the space of just being a health advocate for us. A lot of people see you and they see this big brawny guy and a personal trainer, and they say, well, he's just he's all muscle. They really don't know you. They don't know about your professional training and your business and the things that you do, the training that you've had and the certifications that you had. Tell our audience a little bit about who exactly Sean Hollis is.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. That's humbling. Sean Hollis has been in fitness and nutrition for over 20 years. I have my own personal training business, Sean's Total Fitness. You can find me on Facebook under Sean's Total Fitness. My page is there, or Sean Hollis on Facebook or Instagram. I tailor more as a mobile training fitness entity. I like to tailor to people who don't have that gym membership, who hate going to gyms, who don't like being gawked and stared at. Some of your single moms, wives and husbands who work full-time jobs like you guys do. So I kind of tailor to those individuals. I go to the homes, I train them in their homes, their private gyms, and so forth. My background is really big in nutrition. I believe that it's 80-20. I believe that you are what you eat. And that's what we're going to talk about today, about, just basically in regards to the COVID-19 situation, and just in general, how you should naturally just take care of your body in general as a whole to be able to protect yourself and guard yourself when things like this do transpire.
So I have a question, Sean, because I know, it's all in jest. I know when you were training us, one of the things that you talked about for us was limiting the amount of alcohol that we consumed, right? So I remember specifically the first time that you came in our house to train us, and I give Sean a lot of grief, but Sean is phenomenal. He's effective. He doesn't take no for an answer. And for anybody that knows me knows that I'm not a pushover.
His results.
he gets results and he pushes you in a loving but firm and somewhat aggressive manner, depending upon who the person is. But the results are there. So when we finish working out, I have not worn a size 10. I'm telling business now. I haven't worn a 10. I mean, since probably college. And after we were done, I was down to a 10, baby. But one of the things that you did share when we were working out was to limit the alcohol consumption, not to eliminate it completely. And if I'm misstating what your conversation with us was, please advise. But to limit the alcohol consumption and the reasons why. So if you could share that with our listeners, when you're working out and attempting to achieve a goal or, you know, a weight goal or just a fitness goal in terms of making your body more healthy, why limiting alcohol consumption is so important to that plan.
Great question. We know as African Americans, we love alcohol. We love our brown liquors, our gins, our wines. You know, I believe that anything in the body that's going to create toxins in the body is something that you want to stay away from, just in general, not just with fitness itself. You know, we're machines, and it's just like if you look at your car, you wouldn't put sugar in your gas tank. You wouldn't put something that's going to detriment the engine in your gas tank. If you wouldn't do that to your car, you shouldn't do it to your body. It's the same thing. Alcohol has its negatives and also positives. For example, red wine is very high in antioxidants. Is very, very good to use on a regular daily basis. For people who don't like to consume a lot of foods that are high in antioxidants, like your berries and different fruits and different green leafy vegetables. So, but when you come to your rums and your brown liquors and things of that nature, that's kind of going overboard with it. You know, just in general, you want to just minimize how much toxins you put in your body.
Yeah.
Just pretty much.
Dr. Felder talked about, and if you whenever you have a question, during our segment with Dr. Felder, she talked about kind of three different categories in terms of fighting or preventing the coronavirus. And one of the things that she talked about was determining or figuring out how you can prevent even contracting the disease. And she focused a lot on exercise and on the food consumption. And she mentioned an all plant-based diet. And so I would love to get your thoughts in terms of making the transition, because I'm not a huge meat eater. We do, you know, we eat chicken, we'll eat turkey, some fish, dabble in a little bit of red meat, not much. But for those people who are attempting to transition, instead of going vegan cold turkey, what suggestions do you have about people who are meat eaters and such attempting to make that transition to going to a plant-based diet? Because it's obviously much better for us, but how do you make that transition? That's tough.
Well, that's a really good question too, Monica. I'm glad you asked. That's a really, really good question. Because I get asked that a lot in regards to, you know, as a Black person, I mean, we're all raised with meat. I mean, I was raised eating oxtails, the front and back of the pig. I mean, we ate every daggone thing. I don't think there was nothing that we didn't eat. So, I mean, coming from a poor family, poor background, of course, African Americans are generally brought up to consume a lot of meat. But if you do your research, and Dr. Felder, I'm pretty sure, let you know, you have to, as she did mention, you have to research, you have to read and educate yourself. Humans are not carnivorous. We're not carnivorous creatures. Our teeth proves it. Science proves it when it comes to our how we break down foods or whatever. Our body does not break down meat as a carnivore breaks down their meat. We can't go out into a field and just bite into a cow as a cow just walks around the pasture and just consume it and eat it right then and there, because we're not carnivores. Right. So you got to look at it like that. If we're not carnivorous, you know, the human body is designed to adapt to consume things and to live against certain things and to fight off different things. So over a time, our body has adapted over generations upon generations to consume meat and to live off of it, but we're not carnivores. So with that being said, a plant-based diet is the most sufficient source of eating. Now, to try to go cold turkey is going to, I did it because of what I was going through at the time. I went through cancer twice, you guys may know. I fought prostate cancer twice. My dad had it. And the second time I came back aggressive. My doctor told me, he said, hey, based on your diet and your lifestyle, the probability of you getting it, yes, genetically you were predisposed to getting it because your dad had it. anyone in your family, because your mom had high blood pressure or different cancers, doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get it. You just have a high probability of getting it based on your lifestyle. So if you live a certain lifestyle that leads up to those factors of getting it, of course, you're going to raise the percentage of getting it. So I got it at an early age, before I was 40 years old. My first time being diagnosed was like 37.
Right.
So, and my doctor told me it was because of a high level of red meat. I was eating deer meat. I was eating bison because I was fighting and I was trying to, consume a lot of protein, get muscle and things of that nature. So to answer your question, I recommend pretty much like kind of going off of the meat, leaning towards fish, because fish are going to give you the high percentage of omegas and the fats that you need for your heart and your cardiovascular system as you're working out. And it's also going to give you the protein you need as well. So not eliminating meat altogether. For those who can, yes, do it. Go plant-based, just do it. It's a great way to do it. You just learn how to love and get in love with food, learn how to prepare plant-based foods and things of that nature. That's what's going to help.
That's excellent information, man. We're going to take a quick break. Sean, when we come back, I want to get into body shaming within the Black community. We have talked about this. It's, Black folks are big bone, thick bone, etc. Like, we're going to get into. I want you to help us get up off the couch, but I also want to talk about what you've seen and observed in our community with respect to our body image.
Hi, this is Dr. Veronica Walters, also known as Dr. V, the head of school at the Walters Academy for Entrepreneurship, a place that we like to call The Way, where we're educating today's youthpreneurs to be tomorrow's billionaires through social entrepreneurship. Do you have a student who's bored, frustrated, gifted, inquisitive, creative, business-minded? Then maybe you need to check The Way out. Listen, we have an educational platform that allows for individualized instruction. It's strength-based, project-based, and designed to help your student become the absolute best they can while starting their own business and being an entrepreneur. If you're looking for something different and you need to find a more excellent way, then you need to visit us at The Way. That's The Way, www.thewaecampa.org. Or you can call us at 813-603-7923. We look forward to showing your student a more excellent way at The Way.
Hi, this is Dale Day. Join me every Monday at 7 p.m. for Jazz at Miss Connie's house, bringing you the smoothest jazz and the coolest guests right here on In Touch Radio.
Wherever we go, we are about to bring on the positive vibe. Wherever we go.
All right, we are back. We are back with Sean Hollis of Sean's Total Fitness, fitness and nutritionist. Sean, are you telling me that my wife is fat? Is that what you really trying to?
He did not say that.
I like my women. Look, I like my women thick. I like them with a little meat on their bone.
God.
Sean, listen, if we're friends, don't respond to that question. That is not what he said. Unbelievable.
I can't with y'all, man.
Hey, man, talk to us though, because I mean, we grow up, right? We're a part of our culture is that we think of ourselves as heavier people, as thicker people, and then some people will start working out until they just, because they just reject their natural, body image, and body shaming is a real thing. Like, people from our community get it as well and feel it as well. Sometimes, can you work out too much? Can you be too skinny for your frame? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, let's go ahead and dispel the notion there's a such thing as something called being big boned. There's no such thing. There is no such thing about being big boned. There's no such thing as big boned. It's not healthy to walk around with more fat than lean muscle. That's just naturally. I don't care what walk of life, I don't care what race you are, whether you're African American, white, Hispanic. It's much healthier to walk around with lean muscle, more lean muscle than it is with the fat. Yes, of course, I love women with the presentation of gifts and, things of that nature. We all do.
Curves.
But over, if you look at the medical standpoint, African-American women have a higher risk of different cancers when it comes to ovarian cancer, heart disease, breast cancers. And that comes from the weight. It comes from the body size. It comes from the overall lifestyle. And genetically, we're just predisposed. Our women are predisposed to that because of our lifestyle and because of how we carry our weight. Take Serena, for example. Serena is very
Serena Williams.
full figure.
Serena Williams.
Yeah, Serena Williams. Very full figure, but she carries more lean muscle than she does fat.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's very active, but look at her body. Her body is amazing. And you really can't see too much fat on her. I mean, she has very nice legs, thighs, everything. She's an athlete, but she carries more lean muscle than she does fat. Ideally, that's the body image that a Black woman should look like and how they should carry themselves in regard. That's someone that I would look at as a picture of what a Black woman's body should resemble, because that's how our Black women are. That's how they're supposed to look, like that.
So when you say look like that, because we have some Black women who are just thinner framed. Are you saying with respect in terms of more lean muscle than fat, in terms of because you mentioned that Serena is more lean in terms of her body fat percentage is relatively low. So is the goal to try to reduce our body fat percentage? Because we have some sisters who are just naturally thinner. Like my frame is just naturally thinner. I don't have more fat on my body now than I should, but my frame is a naturally thinner frame, whereas my sister's frame is a naturally more muscular frame. And so is the goal just to have more muscle than fat?
Yeah, absolutely. More lean muscle.
More lean muscle.
You don't want to be muscular, and I'm not saying walk around looking like a bodybuilder, no, but you want to make sure that your overall body fat percentage is much less than your actual lean muscle density in your body.
So how do you do that? So how if someone is looking when they're working out, because right now the gyms are closed, trying to figure out creative ways for folks to work out to ensure that they're staying healthy. If the goal is to decrease our body fat percentage, in terms of how does one achieve that? How does one achieve reducing your body fat percentage?
Well, there's really no blueprint. It's just really just maintaining, just being active. Not sitting around the house on your laptops. Because we're in quarantine, and you can exercise right there in your home. You can get up. There's jumping jacks. There's standing lunges. And these different exercises I'm naming here. If you don't know these exercises, you can always Google them. You can YouTube them. My suggestion to people who really don't know how to get up and move is to walk. Just basically just do what your natural body naturally does. Do those things: jog, run, jump, walk, whatever it is. Just do those things for a period of time, and also just increase your water intake. We should be consuming at least a gallon of water a day. You want to keep your body into a flushing mode. Just all throughout the day, just drink water, and also consume lots of fruit, lots of green leafy vegetables, and just stay away from that fried stuff, stay away from the sweet stuff, the sugars, the alcohol, things of that nature. It's very hard because we're sitting in one place and we're pretty much not going anywhere. So it's basically just a choice. It's a choice in regards to understanding that at this point in time, you have to protect your body. Your body is like the last thing we have right now.
Yeah.
If you think about it right now, the only thing you really can protect right now is your body. You're sitting in the house, and outside of the home is this creature, this monster that we try to stay away from. So we have to protect our bodies, and to do that, you have to make sure that you're putting on the right armor. And with the right armor is what you're intaking. You are what you eat. So we have to be very mindful of what we consume.
We had a question about.
Yeah, we did have a question. So someone is asking you have a lot of these fast food restaurants that have these plant-based meat alternatives, and I see them in the store. So one of the questions is, what are your thoughts on plant-based meat alternatives like the Beyond Burger, the Impossible Burger?
That's a great question. I think you should do a lot of research on those. A lot of those are really not all plant-based. You got to understand that they are also, they're not GMO, they're not genetically modified, but they're produced. They're producing and manufactured where they're made to taste like something that it isn't.
Okay.
Anything that's made processed is not of a natural form. The best diet is anything that comes from the ground.
Okay.
Anything that's grown from the ground is what your body is for. Your body is what you should consume. Do I recommend plant-based meat? I think it has its good and bad, but I think you should do research because it's not for everybody. Everybody's body is different. I think, but everybody's body is made for a plant-based diet. That we are herbivores. That we are. So we're not carnivores.
Did you have a question?
No, but I want to make sure, because I know we've got a few minutes left, but I want to make sure that that our listeners know how to access you, because you mentioned that you actually go to clients as well. But I see you really as a consultant, because every time I talk to you, I get like little nuggets of wisdom, and I just find out more and more and more. But not that I follow anything you tell me to do, but I find out more information. And I know that you have a couple of different business ventures that you've either launched or that you've been involved in. So I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to kind of tell our listeners how they can access you as well.
Oh, absolutely. Again, you can find me on through social media on Instagram _ Sean Hollis. You can also find me on Facebook, Sean Hollis. That's spelled S-E-A-N, not S-H-A-W-N. It's S-E-A-N, last name Hollis, H-O-L-L-I-S. And my page on Facebook is also Sean's Total Fitness. My fitness training business is been strong for 20 years. I'm doing mobile fitness training business here in Tampa. Some abroad, but mostly here in Tampa. I travel to my clients' homes. I train them an hour at a time, anywhere from boxing, cardio kickboxing, anything that deals with the body. I use weights every now and then, but I'm more tailored around using your natural body weight to create a resistance and also just to increase your heart rate. And also, I also do nutrition. I do the juicing aspect of nutrition, and also I do the whole food aspect of nutrition as well. So my fitness training is pretty much basically 80-20. Everything is basically just about nutrition. There's only 20% of what you do in the gym and what you do in the home, but everything is pretty much nutrition.
One of the things that you did say, and I think you just kind of touched on, and particularly when you were working us out, and I have to say that was one of the things that did surprise me when you came to us, you started working us out. And Sean was on time. We started at 6 o'clock in the morning. Sean was at the door at 5:55, ringing the doorbell, and then came in on 25. What are y'all doing? Get up at the bed. Yep. But one of the things that I was shocked about, because I anticipated and expected that you were going to bring weights, or that we needed to have weights in the house during our sessions, and there were no weights. We did kickboxing. We had gloves. We did a lot of MMA type stuff, I guess, that you do in terms of your training. And it was much harder. It was much harder, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, are the results, I felt results much quicker. It was much more difficult, much more challenging. I was much more tired, but I felt better. And is it just because using your own body weight is just more effective than using the weights that you pick up in the gym?
Yes, because you got to understand that your body is designed to adapt to whatever weight you are at, and your body's going to tell you if you're overweight. So it's better to do what your body's naturally designed to do. If you have stairs in your home, you have a treadmill. That's a treadmill. I mean, stairs are a treadmill. It's inclined. It's going to take you from one elevation to another elevation. That's going to be really good for your cardiovascular. So use your stairs. Your couch. If you're not good at squatting, sit down, stand up. Sit down, stand up. Sit down, stand up. Then, of course, your basic push-ups, your body squats, jumping jacks, jogging in place, anything that's going to increase your heart rate, get up and do it. No matter what it is, just do it. 20 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. Every single day you should move. You should move around every single day.
Is there a connection between diet and exercise and your immune system?
Yes.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that.
Yes, that's a great question. Your gut, Keith, is about 70% of your immune system. So you are what you eat. basically just as I'm saying, I'll say it over and over again. You are what you eat. Whatever you're consuming in your body, it's going to be either antibiotic, it's going to be prebiotic, or it's going to be probiotic. Okay, so what you want to consume are anything that is pre or pro, not anti. Okay, so if you're consuming antibiotics when you're sick, what you're doing is you're destroying all the good gut bacteria in your body to be able to fight off flus and viruses that does attack you. So you want to keep probiotics completely in your diet at all the time, and also prebiotic food as well.
So what are the pro and prebiotic like examples of food? What are the probiotic examples and prebiotic examples of food that you can?
Your garlic, your turmeric, your ginger roots, anything that ends in berry when it comes to fruit, green leafy vegetables, avocado, really good, really high antioxidants. Anything that's in high antioxidants is what you want to be inside of your body.
Well, one of the things that I'm not sure what time, how we are on time. I remember growing up, one of the things that my mom emphasized, and my mom is a non-meat eater. So when we go to her house, if you want like a turkey or chicken or burger or whatever, you got to bring it to her house. And then you got to cook it outside because she don't like the smell of meat. So, but one of the things that she emphasized when we were growing up is to have a colorful plate. So we always had to have a green vegetable on our plate, whether it was, green, whether it was like a bright, peppers, whatever it was, our plates had to be super, super bright with all these different colors, like a rainbow. One of the challenges as a mom, and I'm not sure if you can provide some guidance, if you have children, because I want to start our son out with healthy eating habits as well. And there's so much processed food, and it's so easy to kind of just throw some chicken nuggets, which we're guilty of, throw chicken nuggets in the oven and bake them and then give them to them with, grapes. How do you get your children to eat the green vegetables and to eat the rainbow? Because their palates, we're still trying to develop their palates, and you don't want to develop their palates over sugars and salts and starches. You want to develop their palates over things that will sustain them. So
that's a really great question. In regards to that, because we have kids, it's basically just making the food fun. Invite your kids in the kitchen with you. Let them help you prepare those meals. And because with kids, sometimes food can be seen as punishment. If it's not something that's sweet, if it's a vegetable or fruits or whatever, kids like, I don't want that. I want something that's sweet. I want something in a plastic wrapper. Something that has a cartoon character on it. They don't look at food as nutrition. They look at food as something just fun. Everything for a kid is fun. So I believe that if you can include your kids in the kitchen with you and show them different foods, educate them on what they're consuming and why they should consume it and what it's for, that it's really fun, and you eat it with them, sit and eat the foods with them, then yes. But if you sit your kid to the table and say, go eat your food, and you got this squash over here, you got zucchini squash, you got beets and orange carrots, and they're gonna be like, oh, I don't want this. I want some spaghetti. I don't want this. So you have to make them feel comfortable to understand that this is fun. You want this, and it's pretty much just introducing them to it and making them not feel as though it's like a punishment.
Yeah.
We were coming up, we were like that. So
yeah, I do. There was a question. How long should you cook leafy vegetables? Actually, I think okay, real quick. How long should you cook leafy vegetables such that you're not cooking all the goodness out?
The leafy vegetables should be eaten raw. I believe that you should either juice or eat them raw in a salad form, or if you're steaming them, 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay. Because
you can possibly take a lot of the fiber that comes inside of the vegetable. So you want to keep that fiber in there. The more raw, the better.
Okay.
This has been fantastic,
really good.
And obviously we heard from Dr. Faith, who's a medical expert. We got great information from you today, Sean. We appreciate you. We're going to do a little bit of a pivot for our Food for the Soul after show on our Facebook Live page.
Sean, feel free to join us if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Join us for Food for the Soul.
We're going to be talking about the incident that happened back in February, the individuals who were arrested for shooting another unarmed black man. This is one of those realities that we just can't get away from. Yeah. I wanted to make sure that our listeners knew how to access Sean's information to follow up with him. If you have questions, continue to ask those questions, and we'll try to continue to get those questions asked for you, because our Food for the Soul segment is really just kind of us talking. It's more of a less formal kind of a setting. So,
but thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Dr. Felder. Make sure you all like us on Facebook at Soul Purpose Show, on Instagram, YouTube as well. We appreciate everybody tuning in each and every Saturday. If there are topics that you want us to discuss, please let us know.
Tell a friend.
Tell a friend. We sincerely appreciate you all for spending your Saturday with us, and we hope that you all are blessed. Happy Mother's Day,
Happy
Mommy.
Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom. And shout out to Kamaya for graduating with her doctorate from USF. Woo, woo.
And life.
And life.
For finishing
law
school.
So thank you all. Y'all have a blessed Saturday.
Take care.
We about to bring on the positive vibe.